Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain, and today I'm going to be reviewing and talking about the Pathfinder Bestiary 3 battle cards here. Alright, before I get started, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain, as well as a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and like support the channel, and a link to my Teespring store where you can get cool gamer gear, shirts like this, as well as mugs, etc. This one says, I drink and I game, it's what I do, and it has a mug of beer and a D20 on it. Alright, now, first thing I want to say about the Pathfinder Bestiary 3 battle cards is I want to say thank you to Paizo for sending me this free copy to review and use in my games of Pathfinder, because I am still in the middle of running a Pathfinder campaign. I'm actually going to be meeting up in a few weeks with my players again. We had to take a little bit of a break during convention season. Now, Pathfinder Bestiary 3 battle card. So I do also want to say, I'm going to put some links up above. I'm going to put a link here to the Pathfinder Bestiary cards 2 if you'd like to see what I thought of that one. And then after that, I will be putting a link to the review I did of the Pathfinder Bestiary 3. So I'm going to give you a quick short version of those if you don't want to go click on them. But the basic is this. I've been reviewing all of both the Bestiaries and the Bestiary cards as Paizo has been sending them to me. I'm a fan of all of them. I think they've all been great. Now, one of the big pluses I had for the Pathfinder Bestiary 2 battle cards over the Pathfinder Bestiary 1 battle cards was that every monster had its very own card. None of them shared cards, and therefore you had a picture on the back for every monster, which is how these guys do, because each of these, they will have the stats for the monsters in the Bestiary. So for instance, here we have the Asura Shaukin. You have his stats, you have all his abilities, and then on the back you have a picture to show your players. Now, while I'm talking about this up on the screen, I'm going to be showing some of the new pictures, and I say new because there are some creatures that maybe are from a group of creatures that did not get a illustration in the Bestiary 3, but now have an illustration because they have their own card, and that is really cool, and that is something they've been doing with all of the Bestiary battle cards, is making sure to get illustrations on creatures that did not previously have illustrations. So I'm going to be showing a bunch of them up on screen. But yeah, now these are just as cool as number 2, as the Pathfinder Bestiary 2 cards are for that. And again, like I said, they've resisted the urge, like they did in the second Pathfinder Bestiary 2 battle cards. They've resisted the urge to have any creature sharing cards, even when they have fairly small stat blocks, like you have with normal animals, like for instance a skunk and a giant skunk. They do not share stat cards. So that is really cool. I do really like that. Now, the new illustrations that are added in here are really great. And again, we're dealing with creatures from the Pathfinder Bestiary 3, and I was a big fan of the Pathfinder Bestiary 3 because it contained a lot of Far Eastern themed monsters, animals, and creatures, as well as a good number of also African-themed ones. So there's a bunch of stuff here for if you wanted to be running a game in a different part of Golarion than the Inner Sea region. The Inner Sea region is generally seen as the default region to run a game in, and then that is, of course, subdivided into many areas. But if you want to be running a game in the Far East or down deep south of the world, this has a lot of monsters with those sort of types in them, so that is really, really awesome, and I do really like that. Now, I do have one gripe with some of the illustrations on here I do want to draw attention to. Generally speaking, I'm a big fan of the illustrations they do for these creatures. I'm also a big fan of the fact that lots of creatures that did not previously get illustrations got them. I love all that, like I've said, but I do have one gripe. Now, there's a handful of creatures that technically did get, new illustrations, as you were. These are for creatures that are the new unit type of troops, which is supposed to be a group of creatures, like a cavalry brigade or an infantry group. Now, there's a bunch of them in the Pathfinder Bestiary 3. They're very interesting. I like them a lot. A lot of them already got their own illustrations. There's a handful that didn't, and in the cases, the ones that didn't, when they gave them the new illustration, they just used a previously existing illustration and duplicated it a few times. This is what my only real gripe with this. It only happens about 2 or 3 times in this entire box. This entire box, which, by the way, is larger than the Bestiary 2 battle cards was. So it's a minor issue, but it is the one gripe I have amongst all of the positives I have with these, because I really love these. I have been using the previous 2 boxes quite a bit in my own Pathfinder games because they're great. The thing is, you rather than I like to read the books when I'm reading about the monsters and I'm looking into them and thinking of using them in a game, or if I'm looking them up after I've found that they're in an adventure path, a pre-printed adventure path that I'm reading about. But when I'm using them in the game, I prefer to just have the cards out, because they don't have to be paging back and forth through the books. It's great. You just have the cards out there, like quick reference. Of course, you still do need either the main book or the spell reference cards out for their spells, because the spells do not appear on here. Granted, it's a necessary evil, because then some of the cards already need like 2 or even in some cases 3 cards for all of their abilities for some high level monsters. If you also had to have room to fit the descriptions of all their spells, it would get out of hand. So I understand why they didn't do that. But I do have that one minor gripe for a couple of those illustrations, like I said. All right, so real quick, I want to read the back of the box to you here. It says, "Every monster at your fingertips. Pathfinder Bestiary 3 contains even more new fiends and fearsome foes. But this box of over 400 cards represents a new and exciting way for your monsters to leap into action at the table. Each card features a beautiful full-color image of a Bestiary 3 creature on one side, while the other side provides that creature's statistics for quick and easy reference. For each encounter, show the players what their characters are facing while keeping the monster abilities at the ready, and watch your games come alive." So again, my only gripe really on this is the fact that a couple of them did reuse those pictures, but otherwise, this is a bigger box because there were more monsters in Bestiary 3 than there were in Bestiary 2. This is a bigger box than Bestiary 2 was. I can't really fault it for trying to find a way to save a little bit on time and money, resources, on reusing some older illustrations for the units of those particular creatures. Again, because it only does happen 2 or 3 times in here. Again, in over 400 cards. So I really feel like I shouldn't hold that too much against it. It is a fairly minor gripe. It is something that does not happen often. So that said, I really do love all the new illustrations. I really do love this box of cards, and it's why I'm going to give the Pathfinder Bestiary 3 battle cards 8.5 stars out of 10. I think this is awesome. I think this series of cards is one of the best peripherals, most useful, constantly useful series of peripherals that Paizo makes for Pathfinder. These are absolutely fantastic. And again, the Bestiary 3 is one of my favorite of the Bestiaries because it has a fantastic assortment of monsters, and of course they're all in here. So there you go. If you enjoyed this review of a role-playing game product and you'd like to see me do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.